What's happening, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Fighting Words. Anthony Sanfilippo is here. I'm Bob Wankel. Friday, November 14th. Anthony, I miss you, man. It's been about a month. I was texting you throughout the World Series. You ignored me. I was trying to talk a little baseball with you, scratch the itch, but you're a busy guy. Flyers season, new podcasts. So it's good to see you. Good to talk to you. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it was funny because the first text I sent you back during the World Series was after Jeff Hoffman gave up the home run, and you were like, "Oh, now you want to talk?"
Yeah, I would read the exchange, but I don't want to come out hot in the first 48 seconds with all the F words that I had for you.
So good.
Look, it's been a weird start to the offseason, I think is probably the way that I would best describe it. I don't know about you, but I have a little bit of this sense of the old Kincaid adage that two things can be true. Like, the Phillies are extraordinarily well positioned to compete next season. Yep. They are on the short list of title contenders. And I think that if you can remove yourself from the disappointment and talking about these playoff losses and year after year kind of falling short, and you just look at it for what it is, there are, I would say, probably 25 teams in baseball that would change places in a heartbeat with the Phillies. That all being said, I have found it a little bit hard to get revved up for what's going on right now, because you're talking about the two biggest dominoes that could potentially fall are pieces that you're retaining. And in one case, in the case of JT Realmuto, probably a declining piece. And so I think that my view and my sentiment is shared by a lot of fans right now. This is an important offseason. There's a lot to do. There are a lot of question marks, but it doesn't have that like anticipatory excitement of like, oh, are they going to get the big fish, or are we going to be back? Like, there isn't that element of it right now anyway, unless they throw a curveball and do something crazy. So I'm kind of just curious to know, after a month, things have settled here a little bit, we're coming into a podcast, an off-season podcast. Like, where are you at right now?
Yeah, so this is our vibe check, right? Where are things at with the Phillies at this point? And I think that the reason you don't have as much excitement, Bob, is because we all know that the priorities for this team are to bring back players, right? And so I think that the feeling for a lot of people is, oh, here we go again. It's going to be the same thing. And I think ultimately it's not going to be the same thing. I think that there are going to be moves this offseason that are going to change what this team looks like. And we're going to find that some young players are going to be like Crawford's going to be in the lineup. We know that. And we'll find out a little bit later as we get to spring training, like, how much closer Aiden Miller is and where Andrew Painter is. And, there's talk about Gabriel Rincones having a shot at making this team. So like there's a lot of that'll be down the line. But in the near term, everything is Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto, and it's like, oh, well, it's the same guys again. So there's not that excitement of who are they going to get, because they got to solve that first before we even start looking at external players.
Is it your assumption that they're going to be back?
Yes, more so on Schwarber than Realmuto, but I still go yes on both.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think my question now off of that, though, is how much does the timeline matter? Because really, so much of what the Phillies are going to do and pivot towards is going to be predicated upon their ability to bring these players back. And so what I'm afraid of, more so than the anxiety of will they not retain the player, is that are they going to get caught without being able to execute a plan B or a plan C because there's a stalemate, or that this thing drags on and those other options fly off the board. And so should I be concerned about that? Or do you think that these players know and that there's enough goodwill between both sides where they're like, guys, like, we want you back. This is going to be the offer. If you're in, we need to know. And by the way, if you're trying to win a championship here, you need to tell us so that we can go prepare to do that and fill in the rest of the gaps.
Yeah, I think that there's a real understanding across the sport about the order of operations as to who's going to go roughly when. I'm not saying like there's an exact date, but I think that there's an understanding amongst all the teams that are bidding for certain players that certain things have to happen first, and then this happens, and then this.
Why is
so
it? A lot of people ask me, and I've explained it the best that I can. I'm kind of curious to know what you think. Why is it that the baseball offseason moves with a little bit more of a methodical pace? It's not, hey, it's midnight, go get it. We're sitting here a week in, basically, kind of like, well, like nothing's happened yet.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting, and I think it's because they just finished the GM's meetings, right? So I think that the initial conversations on things just happened this past week. And it's like, all right, well, let's talk over the course of the next month. And then everything really starts to hit, when you get to the winter meetings in December, which, by the way, I'll be there. So we'll probably have a show with me from there. But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of how it moves. You're going to see little things happen. Like, a lot of times November is, hey, minor league contracts with an invite to an invite to spring training, things like that. Small trades that are not big deals. Usually maybe towards the end of November, you start to see a couple of signings go, oh, okay, that's an interesting one. But the big guys are usually early December when you hit the winter meetings, and that's usually just the way that their calendar works. They like to get together. Baseball, unlike the other sports, I think that baseball, they like those get-together things to have roster decisions happen, as opposed to, other sports. They have their off-season meetings as well, and those discussions happen there, but it's not like everything revolves around those meetings for transactional purposes. They are, as soon as the free agency kicks off, right? You see it, beginning of the new football year, everybody starts signing. Basketball, hockey, same thing. You hit that free agency day. That's when all the big signings happen, right at the beginning. Baseball, they just like to get together and take their time and talk about it. And it's just a weird sport that way.
You think that the potential stoppage in 27 will impact negotiations in the near term?
For some teams, I do. I think for some teams, they're going to damn the torpedoes and just go, right? I think that I think the Phillies are one of them. I'd say probably about 2/3 of baseball is not worried about it, but I do think that there's probably, 10, 12 teams that are going to sit there and go, yeah, we're not going to commit any money yet until we know what happens after 27.
All right, so I think that people that follow the Phillies, people that have been interested in where they're going directionally, there are some prevailing thoughts. There's like a conventional wisdom to this, and that Schwarber probably back, Real Muto probably back, Ranger Suarez probably not back.
Right.
Is there a surprise possible that could play out here, where the Phillies end up making a trade of significance, or maybe targeting a free agent of significance that is in addition to those players kind of doing what we expect them to do? Like, is there a world where Byron Buxton waives his trade clause and Phillies, or no trade clause, and the Phillies get involved, where we have this like, oh shit moment where, I'm driving in the car and I look down and I see a text message from Anthony Sanfilippo that says, wow, like, is that possible? Because it does feel like so much of this offseason and what can happen has almost been predetermined. And certainly the Schwarber thing is not only significant for next year, but in terms of financial allocation. So if Schwarber were to go elsewhere, then that opens up a ton of different doors. And I want to talk about the possibility of that in a minute. But is there like a chance that it's Real Muto, it's Schwarber, and then whoa, they're not effing around? Like, could that happen?
It could, I guess, but you would really have to get creative financially, because I don't think that they're going to push $400 million as far as, Dombrowski basically said that.
Yeah.
So, I guess their final number last year was 312, it seems like. Can it go a little bit higher? Yeah. But I can't see it going to 350. You know what I'm saying? So so if you are to make another wow move, you got to figure out a way to counterbalance that. And so, yeah, do I think that they will do something like that? Do I think there'll be another player that comes in here and we're like, oh, wow, look at that guy. That's something we didn't see coming. But in order to do that, you're probably going to have to send a couple of guys out in order so, financially you balance the checkbook a little bit. So that's what I think is going to happen. By the way, just like to see this, Jeremy Hicks said, "About time, you lazy fucks."
Look, I just moved. I mean,
we said it. We said it the last episode. Like, well, we'll do a vibe check, and then once things start
I actually
happening.
appreciate that comment. It's deserved. Number one. Number two, that means that guy wanted to see us, and that's good.
Yeah,
that's what we want. Keep it coming. That's fair. All right.
Love it.
All right. So we both think that Schwarber comes back 4 or 5 years, 125, 135, whatever the number is, right? If it doesn't happen, then what? Do you get involved with the Kyle Tucker thing? To me, I don't see that. I know that they've been loosely linked to him. You see the free agent rundowns on ESPN. And I just think because of the Phillies payroll, because of the urgency, because they're a perennial contender, there's a degree of aggressiveness. You'll see the Phillies on those lists. I don't is it possible that they say, you know what, we're not going to go nuts, or that Schwarber himself says, I'd rather go elsewhere. And for that reason I am. And then the Phillies pivot and say, all right, now we're all in on a Kyle Tucker. Is that actually possible?
I mean, it's possible. I don't think Tucker's the one though. Because if you're losing Schwarber, you look at it and say, what are we going to do? Where are we replacing the power? Tucker's a great player, but Kyle Tucker's not a 40-plus home run guy, right? So where are you replacing that power? I think that their target would then shift to Pete Alonso.
Yeah, I do too. I have my little list of notes down here. I'm one of the things that I have on my notes is surprise Pete Alonso. I don't think he's here, but I do think in the event that Schwarber were to go, that would be your DH pivot.
Yeah, it has to, because you lose way too. He is the majority of the power on this team, and you're not. How are you replacing 56 home runs? You're not. I mean, the only player that even comes close that's out there is Alonso.
Yeah.
I mean, Tucker's a 25 to 30 guy, which is great. It's fine. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But he's not a 56 guy, and Alonso, he's not even a 40 guy. So that's the thing. You need to replace that power, and it's something that the Phillies lacked last season. And I would think that would be their pivot if Schwarber says no.
Yeah. All right. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about, and there are some off-season storylines. I want to talk about the Harper-Dombrowski thing. I want to talk about Harper specifically. But just kind of looking at this roster, it's mostly focused on the lineup, and certainly it's focused on the two players that we've talked about at length here, in Schwarber and Real Muto. How do you see them sort of recalibrating things? One thing that I said, I overreacted in the moment, where I wrote a tweet that was you have to blow it up. And I didn't mean blow it up, get 6 guys out of here and tear it all down and start over. But I can't do next year with Marsh playing every day with some, horseshit right-handed option with him. I can't do another Max Kepler Castellanos thing. I need a breath of fresh air, and that may come in the form of Crawford, and that's all fine and well. But I feel there's got to be even more on top of that. So in my mind right now, after I've sort of caught my breath, third base to me has to be different next year. I don't expect Alec Bohm back, and I'm curious if you do, if the dust is settled. So I'll say 2 things about Alec Bohm. Number one, he had a nice series against the Dodgers. He had some quality at bats. And as I've said on the show numerous times, if Alec Bohm were hitting 7th or 8th in my lineup, I really wouldn't have a problem with it. But the problem is if he's back and you look at what they have positionally around him, he's going to be a middle of the order guy again. He's not coming back here to hit 8th. I don't see them fine-tuning this lineup where all of a sudden you can push him way down. They tried to trade him last offseason. It didn't work. Now he's on a 1 year, or he has 1 year remaining. I would think that there would be some interest in him. I don't want to just run him out of town, because there are some things that he can do, but I just feel that's a place that you have to start over. He's not the long-term solution. I'm not saying that they bring in the long-term solution this winter, but I think I have to turn that over. I have to move on from that. Are you with me, or am I just taking all of the Phillies' other flaws and throwing them all at Alec Bohm because he's the one guy that's sort of seemingly easy to replace?
Yeah, I think that I'm with you, Bob. I think that the team's with you too, and I think that that's what they look at that and they say, if we're going to upgrade this team, this lineup, we can upgrade at third base because that's the easiest place to go, right? And I know that you say, well, what about the outfield? The reality of it is that you look at the free agency list, there's not a lot that's going to excite you in the outfield. Just not.
And that's why I started the show kind of throwing out the word trade, because I'm like, well, there's no, like, it's not like, oh, hey, there's the obvious target. This isn't post 22 where you're like, well, they need a shortstop. Look at all the shortstops. Take your pick. It's Trey Turner. This is going to require, if you want to do a meaningful upgrade, you're going to have to be creative, and it's probably going to have to come in the form of a trade.
Yeah, and not only that, even in free agency, like the outfielders that are available, and there's not many of them who don't have a qualifying offer, right? So keep in mind, if a player has a qualifying offer that was sent to them, you're looking at also giving up 2 draft picks.
Yeah, and they are seemingly reluctant and have been in recent years to go down that road. And I agree with that approach. I would not want to see them forfeit those picks.
Right. So I think that you're either looking at a free agent who did not get a QO or a trade. And even then, if that's what you're going to do, okay, well, what are you trading to get that? They were reluctant to trade their prospects for a reason, because they feel like these guys are going to be part of the team.
Yeah.
So who are you trading that has any value? And you look at the roster and go, it's Marsh, it's Bohm. I mean, that's really it. I mean, what else are you trading? Right. So I think that it makes a lot of sense. Could they potentially, move Bohm for an underpaid outfielder with a little bit of pop and then go and sign a third baseman? Or do they hold the spot, just bring in a veteran guy and have him split it with Otto Kemp until Aiden Miller's ready, and then Aiden Miller takes it? Like those are the things that are going to probably happen. You're not looking at, big upgrade in one spot, big upgrade in that. It's just not. It's going to be a little bit more.
Kind of like, so in my mind, I think that you kind of hit it there. It's like a stopgap solution. They probably want to see Miller become the third baseman. They recently talked about how they're happy with Turner. They're not moving him off the short.
Right.
So that's the idea. But then also, by the way, we know that second base needs to be better. And to Bryson Stott's credit, he sort of saved the season last year.
He saved his job.
Yeah. I mean, I think we were trending towards like, he might not be here. And if he is, it's like he's the utility guy. He's the guy that bounces around. But I think that they aren't absolutely convinced about him long-term either. So it's almost like, are they just looking at Miller like, let's find a way to kind of keep the seats warm, and then he's either our third baseman or he's our second baseman, or maybe Turner does, go back to being suspect at shortstop, and then I think they're creating that flexibility there with him. Like, I don't know that the Phillies know for sure where Aiden Miller is going to be playing in 2027. Like, I think that there's 3 possibilities there.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, and that's why I'm saying, like, they were so reluctant to move these guys. It would be silly if they then said, all right, well, we need to trade to get, this or that on the team, and now you're going to trade that guy. Like, why wouldn't you have done it at the deadline? Or last
becomes like, so like, let's keep the seat warm. Like, you could keep the seat warm with Alec Bohm. Like, so can you do better than Alec Bohm at third base? Like, I think that's really what it comes down to. I would like to see the Phillies move on from Alec Bohm. Why? Okay, like, let me lay it out for you. One, he is not going to be here long term, so I have no emotional investment in him at this point. Number 2, I don't think he's a good defender. There's this, like, I won't say like narrative, I hate that word, but like, there's this thing out there that he's really worked himself into becoming a quality defensive third baseman. He's not. He's worked
his way to become an average third baseman.
Like, functional, where he does not but he's not a good defensive third baseman. So I don't want to hear otherwise. And then, like, I just need more power from my corner infielder. I'd rather have a guy that hits 240 and that can hit 24 home runs for me than Alec Bohm, who's going to hit 11 home runs. Like, I just don't want that profile at third base anymore. So, like, that all being said, though, like, if they're going to go bring in some stopgap or, stopgap solution plus Otto Kemp, who also cannot play third base, then aren't you better off just staying with Bohm? Like, I want to move off of Bohm, but like, can you do better than that? And that's what I don't know. Like, I don't have a name. Like, if I were listening to this show, I'd say like, okay, cool. You want to move off of Bohm. Who are you bringing in? It's like, do you have a solution for me? Because I do want to move off Bohm, but I don't have a solution.
Yeah, the problem is that the best solution would then hinder Aiden Miller, and that would be Alex Bregman, right? But Bregman's going to get, a 5-year deal, I would think.
Because you bring Bregman here, well, one, financially, can you do it? If you bring Bregman here, can you make that work financially? And then, what does that tell Bryson Stott about his future here?
Right. But the only way that works is if you don't bring back one of Schwarber or Real Muto. I would say you could go Bregman if you don't bring back Real Muto.
Okay, so then let's entertain that possibility. Would you not be better? Would you be? I don't want to say would you not be, but would you be better served in having some stopgap catching solution like 2/3 of the teams in baseball, a guy that just functions behind the plate? Bring in Bregman, who's a winner, has some like that kind of like that gritty DNA. I think this team could use a little bit more of that. I think he would change the feel of your lineup. There's a little bit more of a professional approach there. He's a little bit more of not a boomer bust guy. There's a little bit more of a dynamic quality to him. Another veteran guy. I'm sure Harper would enjoy that. Better that way? Like, are you better that way? Getting rid of Real Muto, going Bregman to third. Now you have the Miller Stott overlap in the middle of the infield. Like, it gives you a little bit more flexibility. Hell, you could probably trade Miller at that point if you wanted to. Could you?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is when you say a stopgap at catcher, like, it's got to be a little bit more than a stopgap, because in reality, I mean, you don't really have that catching prospect in your system that's even a couple years away.
What scares me with the Real Muto thing, though, like, credit to him, he was pretty good the second half of the season. Another guy who really changed the feel of his season as things went on, and he had big hit the playoffs. And let's do some over unders next season on JT Real Muto. Does he hit 260?
No.
Does he OPS over 730?
No.
Does he hit over 15 home runs?
No, that's probably about the number. You're probably right.
And he's
there.
Probably like the 7th to 9th best defensive catcher in baseball at this point.
Yeah.
He's a good player. And he's tough as shit. And I like the guy on a personal level. And I have a ton of respect for him. Where this team's at right now, like, is that enough if it's going to preclude you from upgrading elsewhere? That's the question. I personally would bring him back. Like, so I'm not challenging that, but I do think you have to think through it. Like, if I were the Phillies, like, I would bring back Schwarber sight unseen, just do it. With the Real Muto thing, like, I'm like 90% in. I would just crack the door a hair to be like, is there some other allocation of these funds where we could make ourselves markedly better? Like, I don't think that possibility exists, but man, like, I just would leave the door cracked. That's all.
Yeah, and this Joe Papel says, be careful, what is Real Muto's loss impact on the starters? That's the biggest thing. Like, I don't care about his offensive numbers. I really don't. Like to me, you could bring in Victor Caratini and have him and Marchand split it and get the equivalent of what JT would have given you, right? Sure. Offensively. So I'm not worried. The offensive numbers are irrelevant to me. It is more about the game planning and managing the pitching staff. And he's a big part of why the Phillies' strength is their starting pitching and is their pitching staff, because of the way he game plans and he's the lead dog in those meetings, right? Like, I mean, and they've said it. Everybody said it. Rob Thompson clearly trusts JT with that more than anybody else, right? Like, so that's where the question of the impact is. And that's where you have to really weigh it, to me, more than anything else. Say, don't worry about the offensive numbers. Is giving up on JT going to hurt our pitchers? That's how you have to value what he brings to the table. I don't care if JT Real Muto hits 205. Like, it doesn't matter. You bat him at the bottom of your lineup. If the pitching staff is going to still be as good as it is, then he's got value, right? Like, that's, to me, that's what matters more with the catcher.
And you think he is that important? Like you would err on the side of like, yes, like I wouldn't want to run that risk. What if I individually went through the impact of that starting rotation one by one? Suarez won't be here likely. Aaron Nola stunk last year. So how much did JT Realmuto help Aaron? I'm just playing devil's advocate, by the way. I'm not like,
I get it.
I agree with you. Like everyone watching this, I agree. Okay, but let's go through the exercise. How much did JT Realmuto help Aaron Nola last year? He looked like a dead dog out there most of the season.
Yeah, no, he didn't.
Okay.
Nobody helped Aaron Nola. Like you could have brought back, Johnny Bench, and he wouldn't have helped Aaron Nola last year, right? So
Christopher Sanchez finished second in Cy Young voting. We just totally overlooked that, by the way. Like everyone, like the guy was literally Cy Young this year. Paul Skeens did not exist. And we just he's really good. What a year that guy had. And we almost just took it. I feel like some of us sort of took it for granted. I certainly did. But I think I look at Sanchez elevated to that level in part because of JT Realmuto, and you give him a lot of credit for that. So you would think there would be a potential for regression there without him.
Well, I won't say regression per se, but I mean, I do think that the sequencing and the calling of the pitches and knowing the opponent and knowing what stuff works best for Sanchez in those moments is all JT. Like he's the one calling it. Like he's calling those games. And so I do think that there's great value there, whereas another catcher might not be as good at it. And then there might be that slight regression.
Well, and so I'm ordering these pitchers in a certain way, because there is a question about Sanchez, right? In terms of how important would Realmuto be to him. Then I would go to Wheeler when he returns from injury, assuming that he does, and all indications are that he will. Would Wheeler struggle without, JT Realmuto? Because to me, it's almost like you could catch Zach Wheeler at this point, and he's been that good where I'm not sure that it would totally matter. The question I would really have, though, you look at Sanchez's evolution, right? And you look at how, Painter spent a lot of his season ago on a little bit of shaky ground. And I think that Garrett Stubbs being down there probably helped, even though it didn't show up in the results and the execution necessarily. I think that Stubbs, if I had to guess, probably played a little bit of a reassuring role in his development and saying, hey, you can work through this.
And not just him. I mean, Mick Abel as well, which you eventually were able to get Duran because of that. And I think that if you go back and look at it, Bob, they brought Stubbs up as the extra guy in September for no reason other than thank you for what you did with these young kids. That was it. I mean, there was no other reason. He barely played, right? But he got a major league salary for a month. It was almost like a bonus thank you for being an extension of the coaching staff in AAA.
Well, and so here's where I'm at. So much of where, and this is where I'll finish this thought, so much of where the Phillies are heading and their future success is going to be dependent upon Andrew Painter's evolution. If Andrew Painter stinks, this is going to get hard for them.
Yeah.
And I think the expectation is that he's still going to be a top of the rotation guy. Like, you better be sure from a developmental standpoint that you have every asset and every, benefit available to him to help him get to where he needs to go. And if you think that Realmuto is really going to be that important, then for that reason alone, I would say that that's worth a few million,
Yeah, I'm with you. And that's why I think he's going to be back. That's why I really think I think that they value that part of what JT Realmuto brings more than anything else. And that's why he's going to be here. And Realmuto himself, I think, likes it here. I think he likes being in the role that he's in with the Phillies. And so I think that there would be a mutual interest in coming back. It's just about how long the contract is and how much you're willing to spend. I don't think that the dollar figure is going to be hugely different. I think the term, you might see another team look at Realmuto and go, we value that just as much as the Phillies. We'll give him an extra year. Yeah. And then the Phillies have to make that determination. Like, do we want to do it? Do we want to swallow that and make it?
Well, you always look at it through the lens of the team and how they're going to decide. It's just, to me, it's like, if you have, let's play this game. The Phillies, will offer him 2 years, $27 million. And another team offers him 3 years, $36 million. Now, $9 million is a lot of money. $9 million guaranteed is a lot of money. That extra year matters. I always look at it, though, from the standpoint, too, of, well, I can maybe exist in this league another 3 years. I can probably sign one more deal after the 2. It'll cut into that $9 million delta a little bit. And how much do I really want to uproot everything now that I'm in my mid-30s, now that I'm getting to, or will be in my mid-30s? I'm getting toward the end of the line here a little bit. Do I really want to up and go to the, insert team here? I don't know.
Yeah,
I would think, knowing what I know about him, knowing his fit in the organization, that he would want to be here. It'd be his preference.
Yeah, and I think that a lot also will have to be dictated by what does JT looking at his future beyond the playing days. What does that consist of, right? And let's say he's a guy who wants to, and I don't know this, but let's say he's a guy that wants to get into coaching. Yeah. Right. Let's say he looks at it and says, this is something I want to do. If you're the Phillies, maybe you sit there and go, okay, we're only going to give you 2 years. But if you're not still a guy who could play after that, we'll guarantee you a role in this organization and kind of, moving forward, et cetera. And in doing that, you could do that as well. And that might make
he's made a lot of money. Certainly he can decide how he wants to work and what he wants to do to occupy his time. But I could see that. I could see him being in a front office or being part of a field staff. I mean, he's got the right makeup for it.
He's very cerebral.
He's a guy that shows up, you have a conversation with him, and you respect him, all right. One other thing on the roster here. We spent a lot of time talking about the lineup. The rotation, I think we have a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like. One quick little drive-by on the rotation. What's your sense on, I guess, A, Zach Wheeler's timeline, and then B, are we doing the 4th and final year of the Taijuan Walker experience?
Yeah, so Zach Wheeler, I don't think we'll have a clear understanding of his timeline until we get to spring training, and really kind of know, because they're not providing updates on what he's doing here in the off season, other than to say that things are moving along as expected, and that the original timeline that they gave out, sometime in May, is probably still on target for that, to be pitching at the big league level again. So that's the best I could give you at this point. Whether that's accelerated or falling behind schedule, we won't know till February, I don't think. As far as Taijuan Walker, I have the same questions, Bob, because you're going into the season with Sanchez, Luzardo, Nola, and you assume Painter. Wheeler will be back, but you need a 5th starter, and you need a 6th starter. You need another guy that could be in it. So I do think that they're going to probably bring in another starting pitcher who can roll into the bullpen kind of guy as well. And so
Ross 2.0.
Yeah, something like that, whatever. But in that regard, I think you need Walker. I do. That's crazy to think, but at the same time, when you look at their situation, I think they need it, because you don't. What if Painter comes into spring training and he's not ready for the big leagues, and he has
on the table?
And he has to start to play again.
I believe that you've heard people say it. Phillies have said it. The last thing that comes back is command after Tommy John.
Yeah,
he's going to be okay. Big, strong kid. I believe it, but you still need to see it.
Correct. So that's what I'm saying. So what if he needs to start in AAA again? Then who else is in your rotation?
Yeah.
And I don't know if they have those guys in the system right now that you sit there and go, oh yeah, well, this guy could be a call up who could give you 8 to 10 starts, whatever. You don't have that. I don't.
All right, so just real quick, then I built in the assumption. Any chance Ranger Suarez is back here?
Any chance? I think.
I know. Let's not do the semantics. Of course, there's a chance.
Yeah. I think there's a small chance, but I think he's going to get a big contract. The one thing I think about Ranger Suarez is going to be interesting, Bob, is I think he'll be one of the last guys to sign. And
yeah,
I think that he's a once spring training starts kind of signing for in February. Like I don't think that he's going to be signed here this month or December or whatever. Like I think he's late in the game, because I do believe that while I think he'll get a good contract and he'll make a lot of money. I do think that teams are maybe a little bit hesitant because of his injury history and the fact that he doesn't throw 115.
I love Ranger Suarez. Everyone here loves Ranger Suarez. He's a big game pitcher. Scott Boras and his alliteration this week, all of his alliteration, dude, like, he's great.
Yeah.
Do I want to give Ranger Suarez 4 years, $110 million? Like, I just don't. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I want him on the team this year. I would love to give Ranger Suarez 1 year, $20 million.
Yeah.
I would even give 1 year, 30, like, stay for another year. We could really use you, but I don't want to tie up for 4 years, 5 years with him.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, he when I talked to Boris out in LA, he called him the Cooler.
The Cooler?
The Cooler. Yeah. That was his nickname. That was his nickname for Ranger Suarez, the Cooler.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The one guy I wanted to ask you about, and I know this kind of goes back to the lineup a little bit, but I did want to kind of address it with you. I'm sure you saw the Instagram post by Harrison Bader.
Yeah. Was the Cooler William H. Macy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Early
2000s, right? The Cooler.
Yeah. Anyway, but I want to bring it back to Harrison Bader for a second.
I can't believe we haven't talked about him.
Yeah. Did you see the Instagram post and what was your thought on it?
Yeah, it felt like a goodbye. He did say, like, this year was that we ran out of time. This year, it's all we had. My sense, like, I could be very wrong. My sense is the Phillies would like to have him back. They know that he's a little bit of a journeyman. He had a really good year. He might be able to cash in on it. The Phillies are not going to be the team that gives him the most money, likely. And so I feel like the Phillies are here. If we're interested, we'd like to bring you back. But if you go get the best deal possible, it's probably not going to be here. So am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. But I think I guess my thought on this was more that it was strategic by Bader.
By Bader, put the pressure on a little bit.
Yeah, I think Bader wants to come back. I think he wants to be here.
Yeah.
But he knows that the Phillies probably aren't where they need to be as far as what that contract is going to look like. And so I think Bader puts that out. And I thought it was the timing. So he's not a guy who puts Instagram posts up every day. Like, he's every couple weeks puts something up, whatever. And I thought that the timing of it was interesting. Like, why did it happen
the day after the season ended?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The timing of it was what's most interesting to me. And he's getting the fans fired up, right? By calling them a fucking gift, right? Like, with the PH. And so I think that's kind of like, yeah, I want to be back. I want you guys to love me. Put a little pressure on the Phillies to kind of get it done. And I think that there's a little bit more of a. If you asked me at the end of the season,
by Harrison Bader.
Yeah, if you asked me at the end of the season if I thought Harrison Bader was back next year, I would have said no. You ask me today after that happens, if Harrison Bader's back, I think it's more like a 50-50 now, Bob. I really do. I think that it's like, if the Phillies can get close to what he wants, he'll be here.
All right, let's workshop.
We did it. By the way, we did a poll on Pattison on this on Twitter. Asked if it was a good buy or if it was strategic by Bader. 53% said it was stratetic. 47% said it was a little bit.
Okay, yeah. To be honest with you, like, shame on me. I didn't consider that at all. I just went, he's online, just doing his thing. Probably won't be back. Might be. We'll see. Do you want Harrison Bader back? Like, let me just say this. I thought he was awesome. That trade, that acquisition went much better than I would have expected. I thought he had a really positive impact on that team. He also far exceeded what he's done in recent years.
Yeah.
And, like, he's an aging guy. And, like, do you really want to commit, one, a spot, two, and then two, that type of money to Harrison Bader, who could next year hit 240 with 12 home runs? Like, that's very possible.
So the answer to that question is, and this can only come from within. Are we comfortable with Justin Crawford being an everyday center fielder?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that they are. Like it seems like there's some internal debate over whether he's an everyday center fielder in the majors.
Right.
They think he's better off in left.
Yeah.
And so some people in the organization think he's better off in left. So if you're concerned that he's not an everyday center fielder, the one thing Harrison Bader showed you in his time, he can still go get it in center field.
Yeah.
He can play the position, right? And so I don't care. Again, here's another one, Bob. I don't care if he reverts back to being a 240 hitter. If he could go get it in center field and provide that kind of edge and energy to that clubhouse that was at times last year. We talked about it. How many times did we talk about how they looked like they were just going through the motions during the regular season, right? Like if he provides that juice too, I think that intangible alone is worth the contract, but only if you don't think Justin Crawford can play center field, which I don't have that assessment. I've watched him play 3 games in my life, right? I can't tell you that I can assess that. So that has to come internally from the team.
The intangible that Bader brought was undeniable. I guess the only thing I will say is it does require you to play well. Like Brandon Marsh was fun too, and Brandon Marsh had a good year, right? But the beard and the water and the seeds and the all that stuff kind of wore thin because you're like, this guy never got any, he never really took the next step or hasn't taken the next step, I should say. So Harrison Bader being like, yo, you're a gift and, pink bands or purple bands, that's all awesome. And there's a legit energy. And I believe in those things. I think that stuff is important. But it does require some degree of production because in this city, you'll go, that's great. That's all fun, but that's all fine and well. But who gives a shit? You stink. You got to play.
So fair enough. Let's look at it this way. So let's say you're bringing Harrison Bader back, and let's say it's 2 years, $25 million, and let's say you give him there's a third-year team option, not a mutual option, but a team option. On a third year based on, basically you can look at his production and see how it is. All right. His career, he's a 247 hitter. Let's say he reverts back. He's hitting 250, right? And he gets on base 320 and his OPS is 730. Yeah. But he's going to play really good defense for you in center field and provide all those other intangibles. Is that good enough for you?
Yes, I would do that deal. I need someone standing next to him out there, though, to be a guy. I can't have Crawford slap his way to 280 and look like Ben Revere 2.0.
Right.
And, the next version of Max Kepler running around out there too. At some point, there's got to be a piece out there. By the way, I don't know what Crawford's going to be at the major league level. I have a little bit of a hesitation, anointing him as a legit difference maker, dynamic player. But to be clear, you look at his exit velos, the guy hits the ball hard. He just hits it on the ground way too much. It's not I don't know that he's a slap hitter. I don't think that's a necessarily a fair way to describe who he is. But there has to be, he's not going to be a 25 home run guy. He's not going to be a 20 home run guy. There's got to be some development of gap power though. There has to be some ability to lift the ball enough where you turn yourself into a little bit of an extra base doubles threat. And I don't know that he has it. We'll see.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree with you.
But to your point, to focus on Bader, yes. I would do that. I would do 2 years, 25. Where I would not go is 3 years, 40. I'm out.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. If you have give them the option on the third. Go to the option on the third.
If it's an option, sure, but I'm not guaranteeing that. And that's probably where I draw the line with Harrison Bader.
Yeah, and I'm with you, man.
All right, I know we're a little bit short on time. I wanted to talk about the bullpen and how it's still not good enough, and I'm afraid that the Phillies think it is good enough now because of Duran taking down the 9th inning. I think they're still at least an arm short in terms of their other higher leverage guys. We can save that for another day. Bryce Harper, John Middleton, Dave Dombrowski. Can I just get your thought on what the hell happened there in that press conference? Why Dombrowski opened that can of worms to begin with? Bryce Harper's initial reaction to it, your thoughts on him going to Matt Gelb to basically say, I do not like this. Dave Dombrowski's media tour on foul ball or whatever, foul territory or whatever the hell it's called. why would people listen to baseball podcasts? I don't get it. Just the whole thing and where we're at now, because it feels like it's all quieted down. Are we all hunky-dory, happy-go-lucky moving forward? What's the deal here?
Yeah, so the only thing that I felt that was wrong by the Phillies was after the initial press conference, when we all wrote about what Dombrowski said about Harper, because that was the story of that press conference. They should have talked to Bryce then, okay? Rather than having to do a follow-up on foul territory and have Dombrowski come out and say what he said on that show before talking to Bryce. Like, there needed to be a conversation with Bryce in between. That I think that's where the Phillies dropped the ball. And so therefore it allowed for all this speculation to go out of control, right? To spin out of control. If they had talked to Harper immediately after the press conference at Citizens Bank Park, even if the trade speculation came out, Bryce would have just ignored it because he would have had the conversation. But when Dombrowski goes on foul territory, this is after the trade talk comes out on WIP, Dombrowski said he still hadn't talked to Harper. Well, why? Like that to me was the mistake. That's why. That's where
that trade speculation on WIP. One of the people on that show is of significance in terms of the relationship to the Phillies. I don't want to say the other person's insignificant, but what I'm saying is like that was Devin Caney and Ruben Amaro, right? That show where that first came out there. I mean, Devin's there, right? Like, so it's nothing against her, but like Ruben Amaro to sit there and be like, that was interesting. No.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was interesting, but I'm not sure that Ruben ever said that it was Bryce. So, like, that's the thing. I think that what it allowed to happen, Bob, is it allowed Ruben to throw out a speculation that a big money player could be moved. And then it was taken from there, and then on that radio station, it blew up to, well, it's got to be Harper. It's going to be Harper. Like, it's not this guy, it's not that, it's going to be Harper. So that's where I think that it got out of control. And we know Bryce is a WIP listener. He's made that quite clear in the past.
I have no problem with that conversation, by the way. Like, that's not like I have no problem with Ruben or Devin going down that road. I mean, even Devin, I've thought that. I thought at the end of the season, I'm like, man, this guy looked kind of miserable this year. I don't want to say he's in decline, but he didn't have the vintage Bryce Harper year. We all agree with that. Is that contract situation something that has lingered? Is there a need to shake this thing up? Like, I do think it's a fair conversation. I don't know how realistic it is, but I think it's a fair conversation to have.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine to talk about, but I mean, it's not realistic, right? So don't talk about it like it's realistic. I think that's where it went too far. Because then, the next day, or I guess it was 2 days later, you got, Giulio on the show saying, centering his whole show about trading Bryce Harper and what the Phillies can do if they do this. And, so it just got all these legs, and I'm not certain that that's where the Phillies wanted it to go. I kind of felt like Dombrowski wanted to challenge Harper a little bit publicly, and that's okay, right? To be a little bit better next year. But I don't think he ever wanted it to get to the point where we're talking about trading the guy.
All right, so 2 quick questions. Is he going to be better next year?
If they provide him with a bat behind him that can protect him, yeah. I mean, I thought that Scott Boras, for all the stuff that he does normally, that's kind of very in favor of his clients. I thought it was very real when he told Todd Zalecky, "Hey, take a look at how many guys face more balls in the zone than Bryce Harper." Oh, everybody did. He had the fewest balls in zone because you have a guy batting behind him who nobody's afraid of, right? So he can. If he's healthy, he'll have a better season regardless. But if you want him to be elite level Bryce Harper, you got to bring somebody in to bat behind him.
All right, and then finally, do you believe that now that they've talked and Dave said it was a lengthy conversation and a good conversation, is this kind of no longer a story, or is this something that we revisit and check in on as things progress?
I guarantee you it's one of the first conversations of February 12th or 13th in Clearwater, where everybody has an opportunity to talk to Bryce together. I guarantee that's the first thing that they ask about.
Yeah, I'm quite interested to see what he has to say, or if there's any comment prior to then. The one thing I will say is, like, I don't think that Bryce Harper's happy with how last year went. I don't think he's happy with the postseason failures. Obviously, he desperately wants to win a World Series. He needs to be better in the playoffs. He did not have a great series against the Dodgers. Like, all these things are true. I do wonder, though. I mean, they've probably brought in guys that Bryce Harper has advised that they bring in or has wanted to see come here. Some of those have not worked out. What I wonder is, does Bryce Harper feel like that the Phillies are doing everything they truly can to help them win a World Series? I wonder what he truly thinks about where they're at right now.
Yeah, I have the same questions. But I do think that now, with the way things have gone, I do expect, and I think Rob Thompson was spot on with this. Knowing the player, it's going to motivate him to have a great season. So yeah, I want
to believe that because I hear you. Like, Bryce Harper does seem like a guy that sort of you're going to question me. Like, I'll show you, I'm Bryce Harper, baby. But like, yeah, I need that. And I guess at the end of the day, it's really about production. I don't need him to pander. Like, I don't care if he wears Fanatic cleats or not, or like, I bleed Philly. Like, I prefer that. I'd like to see my athlete be all balled in on the city and balled in on the team. It's great. But like, even if that were to dial back, I just need a little bit more out of the guy in terms of his energy. Like, you talk about Harrison Bader coming here to give the team juice. I thought Bryce Harper was a juice guy when he first came here. Like, where is that? Like, yeah, I know it's about, at the end of the day, who gives a shit, right? He doesn't need to be Johnny Rah-Rah. Like, just hit the ball over the fence, hit 35 home runs, be a top 8 MVP guy, and it's all good. But like, could I just have a little bit of that with the production? Give me a little bit of that, man.
I'm with you. And so, like, to put a bow on this, if Bryce Harper doesn't have that season that we're talking about in 26, if he stays healthy and he's just kind of mediocre again, or mediocre for Bryce Harper standards, but still pretty good for Major League Baseball standards, do I think that this is a conversation you can revisit again at the end of 26? Yeah, I do. But I don't think this is any, I do think that I looked at it and say the Phillies are just trying to poke the bear a little bit, get him to respond and show you who he is, and then everything will be fine. But if not, if it doesn't work, if it goes the other way, then yeah, maybe they talk about that moving on from Bryce at the end of 26.
Yep. All right, I know you got to get out of here, so whatever you want to do.
Yeah, we'll do one last thing. I got 2 minutes here. Real quick, I wanted to get your take on it because I know you know a lot about this. Obviously, the big scandal in baseball was the Cleveland Guardians pitchers, Clase and
Luis
Ortiz, with the throwing the pitches and intentional balls so that they can get paid by a gambling ring. Major League Baseball is addressing this with their gambling partners and putting a cap, $200 cap on player props, especially pitcher player props. What do you think? Do you think that this is going to work, or do you think that we're still at risk for these things to permeate throughout the sport in the way it did with Cleveland?
Well, two things. One, this is certainly a cautionary tale to bettors and people that want to do these things and potential players who could get wrapped up in this. Because I think a lot of players probably feel like that this is discreet enough where, like, who could ever find out? Like, well, guess what? The other part of it is that they have not yet to date been proven guilty of this. One player we know is actually pleaded not guilty to it. That all being said, look, I mean, I think that you open up certain markets, there's always going to be a chance that things don't go the way that they need to. I think it's pretty impressive that the technology is in place, though, that sends alerts to these abnormalities and these irregularities in the betting markets. Like it's not like, like this stuff was caught, right? Like there is a technology in place that alerts, the leagues, the books to these events taking place. And maybe it doesn't always happen right away, but when they recognize that pattern, they're able to pounce on it. As far as the corresponding move, I think that more than anything, there's a public relations element to it. Like you have to protect the integrity of the game. And when you have players that jeopardize or potentially jeopardize the integrity of the game and what they're watching, it requires some level of action. And so I understand baseball's perspective of wanting to put limits on, how these markets are bet. And in some states, I think they're probably going to look at whether or not these markets should exist at all. I don't know what to say beyond that, quite honestly. I don't want to, given my job, I don't really want to talk about whether or not those markets should exist. I think that they're fun, right? But when you have things like this happen at this magnitude, it's going to require some level of correction and vigilance, and that's where you're at right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's not just baseball. I think you're going to have to see that correction and vigilance across all the sports.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that, this doesn't start to spiral and become something that we can't trust the action.
By the way, like the sports books want the action on these markets. That's why they offer them, but they also, they are incentivized to make sure that things are done correctly and legally and within the framework of how the sport's supposed to be played. Like it's paramount to them that integrity exists. Like,
right.
It's not like anybody, like one thing I'll say, and I know you got to go. It's not like these sports books are like, oh damn, like we wish this didn't get caught so we could still offer it. And it just be like they want the integrity as well to remain intact. So they don't want these stories. This is not a great look for them. Like they want things to be on the up and up.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. It'll be interesting to pay attention to that going forward, and not just in baseball, but in all sports. Well, that'll do it for us here on Fighting Words. Thanks for joining us today. We'll be back when if a big move happens between now and the winter meetings, which is 3 weeks away. We'll hop on and we'll do another one. Otherwise, probably the next one will be from when I'm down in Florida at the winter meetings. Bob and I will hop on and do a show. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, wherever you get your podcast. Best place right here on YouTube. Click the thumbs up, ring the bell. Make sure you never miss a show. Every time Bob and I go live, you'll be able to find it listening in the podcast feed. Want to find it on YouTube, youtube.com/@FightingWords. For Bob Wankel, I'm Anthony Sanfilippo saying thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you again soon.